There, my name's Tim Johnson. This is the follow-on from the last video in which I talked about letting go from your life things that you cannot control, and that there are really only two things that you can control, and they are your thoughts and your actions. And this is a follow-on from that, really, to perhaps give you a little bit more advice, something you might be able to get from this. Because where thoughts and actions are concerned, there's a third thing that comes into play, and that's consequences. Because for every thought and for every action that follows on from that thought, there is a consequence. And that consequence can be either a positive thing in your life, or it can be a negative thing in your life. There's no black or white. There's different extremes of that, obviously. And I'll give you an example of that, because as I said in the last video, getting to grips with this thing about letting go of what you can't control is all about being the watcher of your thoughts, understanding those thoughts, and taking a breath and taking a moment and thinking about your actions, and then thinking about from that the consequences of your actions, because this is what this video is about. So for instance, you're driving along and you're perfectly happy, or and someone pulls in front of you, cuts you up in another car, and you almost crash, you almost have an accident. There's two ways you can react to that, because your thoughts might lead you into thinking, what a stupid prat, and anger springs from those thoughts, and that grows and grows and grows. You bang on the horn, and your actions are anger instead of taking a breath and taking a moment. And the consequences of that anger, as it grows and it goes spreads into your day, it will escalate. Even straight away, it might make you drive more erratically. You could end up having an accident and that's the consequences of you getting angry over something that you cannot possibly control, and that is someone else's actions and the way they behave. Impossible. You can't control that. So that's one example of consequences. Hunger is another one. Is quite if you're watching your diet, this is quite. It's not a light-hearted one. This has got a lot of quite serious, because it's something that I've taken into over the last certainly year. I've really worked hard on my diet and what I've put into my body, and a lot of you out there are the same way. Or you may just want to be losing weight or getting fitter, or just watching what you're putting into your body. You might be trolling around the supermarket and you're thinking, I've really worked hard this week. This is Friday night. It's the weekend coming up, and you're walking past the chocolate aisle, or the cake aisle, or whatever it is, and you think that I deserve a treat, and then you cut it out of your mind. You think, oh, I don't do that. And all the time you're pushing around the supermarket, your trolley, you're letting the thought grow in your head. I do deserve a treat. That'd be nice, just this once. Let it go, which is fine. I mean, that's up to you. And then by the time you reach the end, you've chucked a load of stuff into your trolley, and that's your actions. And the consequences of that are that you are you break your diet, and that's it's nice to give yourself a little treat sometimes, obviously, but the consequences may well be that you've now got that sugar and stuff back in your body again. You start craving it. The next time you push, it's not as easy to resist, and you keep on putting it in your cart, and before you know it, your diet's gone down the pan. Now I can relate all this to something a lot more serious that could lead us in addiction back to where we started, back into relapse. And that's and there are many examples that I could use, but one that is truly awful one to think about is perhaps the serious illness of someone that you love, one of your family, someone who's very close to you, something that you cannot possibly control. They get ill. You experience many emotions, and obviously devastation, sadness, anger, helplessness. You're afraid. You get all these emotions rushing through you because you cannot control this. So your actions can go one of either two, particularly in our situation. We want to relieve that anxiety. We want to relieve all those emotions, forget about them for a minute. And to help us cope, we'll maybe reach for a bottle or a drug or whatever it may be, whatever our addiction is. Even food, whatever it is, we comfort to comfort ourselves, to medicate these emotions, and before we know it, we're out of control again. And or the other way we can go is to understand that by doing that, by those being our actions, that the consequences of that will be that we're of no use to the person that we love who's sick. We are we're just hopeless. We can't help them, we can't support them, we can't look after them because we've gone back in. We're making them sad, we're affecting them negatively in every single way, and that's the consequences of those actions of reaching for a bottle. Or not doing it means that the actions of not picking up the bottle or the drug or whatever it is are that we can be of use, we can be present for them, we can support them, we can look after them, motivate them, help them through the illness, and be of some use. And I can apply this thoughts, actions and consequences to everything. Social situations, you're feeling nervous about going to a social situation. You think, in the past it was always having a drink that would help you blend into that situation. Well, that action, the consequences of that action would be that you'll make a fool of yourself, that you're out of control again, that you're not entertaining, you're just a bore, you're just useless to everybody. You embarrass those people that you love and everyone else around you. Or you can just go in and be yourself, and by not picking up the consequences of that action, are you yourself, and people accept you for who you are because you can't control what people think of you. It's out of your control. So you just get on with it and smile and be the best person you can be, and consequently that means that they'll love you for who you are, and that's great, and that's the consequences of that action. And I'll just relate one more before I go, because I think you probably got the idea by now. And this is all about being the watcher of those thoughts. I was out in a town the other day, and I'd been on a long hike. I was absolutely sweltering because it's nearly 40 degrees centigrade over here at the moment. It's massively hot. And I sat down at a cafe, and I ordered. I always order what's called a cortado, which is strong coffee, and I enjoy sort of sitting in the sun having that. I got my bottle of water down underneath the table, and I'll swig from that. And the guy on the next table had a pint of ice cold bit. The glass was frosted, and it was something that it was something that in my addictions, it'd always lead on to massive problems. But the ice cold beer I always classed as a reward, which would lead on, and it would make me feel. And all these thoughts started zipping through my head. Oh, wouldn't it be lovely and nice, and this is without me even thinking. I wasn't even thinking about this, but these thoughts were in my head before I had a chance to even think about it, and they sort of grow, don't they? Oh, help me relax. I'm sitting here in the sun. I deserve a beer. I deserve this. I deserve, it'd be lovely ice. And then I thought, whoa, this is what I mean by being the watcher of your thoughts. I thought, what are you saying? This is ridiculous. What you're saying to yourself here, absolutely ridiculous. Took a swig from my ice cold water, which is a lot more thirst quenching. Sat back, took a deep breath, and the consequences of that action was that I sat there and enjoyed my coffee and relaxed in the sun, and that was my reward, and loving life. It was beautiful, just sitting there relaxing. The consequences of going the other way, of course, and buying that lager would have been absolute disaster for everything that I've perhaps achieved for myself over the last 2 years. It would have been an absolute disaster. So just remember, it's very simple. Well, it's not very simple because it takes a lot of practice, and your mind is always looking to be comfortable and always looking to be, in every situation to be made comfortable, and to negate anything negative emotions, negative feelings, and it'll always talk you into doing something. So be the watcher of your thoughts. Think about the consequences of the actions that you take. Thought, actions, consequences. Till next time, Carpe Diem. Seize the day, and much love to you. Thank you for listening. Bye bye.